What's up guys, back with another video, and if you're a fellow BA Audi S5 owner like myself, I'm sure you've ran into the issue where you want to change your spark plugs, you want to change your ignition coils, but there's not really much documentation out there. So that's what we're going to be solving today. I'm going to show you guys how to change your spark plugs and your ignition coils, and then we're also going to be cleaning the mass airflow sensor on my 2008 or BA Audi S5. So with that being said, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and smash that notification bell, and we'll get right into it. All right guys, so I actually got the full spark plug and ignition coil kit. So over here we've got 8 ignition coils. We got some dielectric grease or some kind of grease, I don't know what kind of grease, but for the spark plug boots. And then we've got a 5/8 magnetic spark plug socket. So that should be pretty much everything we need right here. And then of course you'll need a couple of Torx bits. All right, so first off, we're gonna need to take off the radiator cover. So we've got a T25, we've got a screw right there, screw right there, a screw right there, and another screw right here. And this basically covers up the radiator cover and then the intake. So we need access to the intake so we can remove it. So we're gonna go ahead and get this off and go ahead and disconnect this, and we'll move it out of the way. Okay, and these two little screws there are actually going to be a T15. All right, and then to remove these little clips, I'm actually going to use a trim removal tool. So as you can see, I had to use the trim remover tool to kind of get some space between the connector and the actual ignition coil. So it could be kind of difficult to get that connector off. So just kind of be patient. You don't want to break anything, and then you can eventually get it off. You just got to kind of wiggle through there. And I wouldn't suggest using like a screwdriver or anything, because you don't want to damage the connector or you know, put indentions or anything. So if you have like a clip remover tool or something that's like soft plastic, I would suggest using that and then just kind of wiggling it off slowly. And it is super tight in there, so just kind of be careful, because you don't want to break that this red piece. Can't remember what it's called, but definitely don't want to break that. So now we got that off, we're going to go ahead and get this first ignition coil popped off and then get that spark plug out, and then we'll go ahead and get the new ones thrown on there. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and get these started, and hopefully we can get over to the other side and see how difficult that's going to be. So I'm actually going to turn the spark plug right first and then go left. I just read that that's best practice to get it off and, you know, avoid stripping any of the threads. So I'm going to give that a shot, and hopefully they'll come off pretty easily. Got that first spark plug out. It was definitely time to give them a change. You can see it's pretty white at the top. Doesn't look like they're too crazy or anything, but it's definitely time for some new ones. So we'll go ahead and grab a new one, get some grease put on there, and then we'll get it thrown in. All right, so I just went ahead and threw on some gloves so I can put this grease on here. I should have been using gloves the whole time just so my hands don't get as dirty, but so we're gonna get a little bit of this spark plug grease and then put it all around the threads. That way it doesn't have any issues the next time I have to replace them. It's super easy to get out, and it offers like waterproofing and things like that. So so we got a pretty good layer all around there. Gonna go ahead and put this back in there, and then you want to make sure you don't just go on with the tool. You want to guide it in there with your hand first and just kind of screw it in there by hand to make sure you don't strip any threads or anything or cross thread anything. So if you feel any resistance, just go ahead and pull it, turn it back around and screw it out, and then start over. Okay, so all of the forums that I saw said to tighten them to about 22 foot-pounds of torque. So I went ahead and got the first one torqued down to 22 foot-pounds. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the brand new ignition coil back on there, and then we'll start with the next one. Okay, so I went ahead and put some grease around the top of the boot here. That way it's not as hard to get out next time. It was giving me a hard time pulling it out, so I went ahead and put that on there so we can kind of try to prevent that next time. Number 2. Second spark plug. Number 3. All right, so now we just need to button up these two screws that we're holding in the connector. So we got this side buttoned up, and before we head to the other side, I want to get the intake and everything put back on. So I'm going to go ahead and clean the MAF sensor real quick. And basically on the can it says you need to spray 10 to 15 times, and you want to spray all sides of it. So you want to avoid touching the nose of the straw to any parts of the sensor. So we're just going to keep a little distance from it, but make sure we try to get all the edges and all the sides of the MAF sensor. All right, went ahead and got that sprayed up. So it dries pretty fast. I'll go ahead and leave it for maybe like 5 more minutes just to make sure before I put it back in there, and it's harder for it to dry. And then we're gonna go ahead and hop to the passenger side, and hopefully we can knock this one out pretty quick. The only issue, like I said earlier, is basically the coolant reservoir is kind of in the way, so hopefully we'll be able to get everything out. But either way, we'll figure it out, and we'll get it done. Just got the MAF sensor cleaned off. It's dry now. We're gonna go ahead and throw it back in the car, get the intake completely buttoned back up, and then get started on the driver's side. To get out these driver's side ignition coils, kind of have to move the coolant reservoir out of the way. So basically, there's a screw right here, and then there's a screw right here. You unscrew those, and then you just pull up on the coolant reservoir, and then it'll pop out of the little socket that it's in. And that's pretty much all you have to do to make enough room that you can get it out. Still a pretty tight fit, but should be enough room. All right, guys, so like I said, basically, to get to these back two ignition coils, kind of had to pull the coolant reservoir out of the way. So we were able to get enough room. You can move it all around if you need to. Just try to Try not to yank on all the wires. You don't want to break anything. We were able to make enough room to get 3 and 4. I don't know what number they actually are, but we were able to get those out. And then we got the spark plugs in, and now I'm gonna put this last ignition coil back in there and then button it back up, and then we should be done. We'll start it, test it out, make sure everything's good. But if you need to, just loosen up the coolant reservoir and you should be good to go. Now we just gotta put the coolant reservoir back where it goes, and then connect the harness back up, and then screw those 2 screws in, put the radiator cover back on there, and then clean off my intake, since I got a bunch of dust and stuff all over it. And then we gotta put the dipstick back in there, and then we should be good to go. So we're gonna go ahead and knock that out and get it over with. Got all of the ignition coils plugged back in, got them screwed back down, got the dipstick put back in, got the coolant reservoir screwed back down as well. Went in and made sure everything else is tight again. So I'm gonna go ahead and just button it up and throw the radiator cover back on there, and then I'm gonna test it out, make sure everything's running right, and we're not getting any check engine lights or anything. Just button everything back up. We're gonna go ahead and start the car up so we can make sure it's running fine and there's no issues with it. I'm gonna show you guys I'm gonna put the camera right in front of the engine just in case there is any noises, so you guys can hear it. But we're gonna go ahead and fire up and make sure that she's running fine, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up the video. Alright guys, that's all for today's video. Be sure to let me know in the comments below if you have any questions, and I'll try to answer them the best I can. I will say, just make sure to be patient. You don't want to break anything. Some of this stuff is kind of hard to get out. It's been in there for a while, been under a lot of heat and things like that. So you want to take your time and make sure you do it right. That way you don't damage anything. I will say stay tuned. I do have some stuff coming for you. Gonna start trying to touch the interior of the S5. Got a few more performance mods coming along. We're really gonna try to optimize the V8 while it's in A. With that being said, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and smash that notification bell, and I will see you in the next one.